We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it! My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Rants with Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Oh, we got a fun one today. Good morning, everybody. I am Jason Bermas. This is Reality Rants brought to you by RedVoiceMedia.com. And I got a question for you today. Do you know the Muffin Man?
Oh, do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man who lives on
Capitol Hill? So, for those that are unaware, the January 6th tapes were released to the Tuckins exclusively via some kind of backdoor deal with McCarthy, apparently. Now, I was kind of skeptical about it, but at the same time, by the way, is this going here? Because it's not looking, oh, there it is going. I guess it is. I was skeptical a little bit about because I wasn't hearing it. I was hearing a lot of chatter. Okay, so finally the Tuckins acknowledged it last week and said this week is going to be the big January 6th expose. And I watched it last night, and I mean, some of the stuff was obvious. I like how he framed it because these people are obvious liars and extremely deceptive. And I think the Thomas Massey segment was probably the most powerful of the evening, other than showing that Officer Sicknick, who was definitely amongst people who were being violent during a riotous period outside of the Capitol. Let's not get it twisted. And I definitely got, myself, a lot of violent people on camera that, to my knowledge, have never been arrested for some reason. And yet, people that were not violent are doing hard time, like the Muffin Man, Jacob Chansley. And we're going to get to the poor Muffin Man in a moment, okay? It's just wild stuff. So, what we had never seen before was the tour that the Muffin Man was taken on by the two police officers that then you see once he enters the sacred realm, right? This is kind of the sacred realm. That's when they ask him, it's time to go. We need to leave. But before that, they're like escorting him and letting him open doors. I mean, this guy's so dangerous. For the absurdity of all of it, what I covered and continue to cover is that the Muffin Man here, when I watched his 60 Minutes interview, I pointed out that, they tried to make this guy out to be some huge criminal. He didn't destroy any property. He's not a bigot. Is he somebody who was like mentally ill and believed that the QAnon nonsense was real? Yes. It sucks. Psychological operations. All right. And even, a digital LARP that got out of control and that was overtaken as a political movement, whatever you want to call the the Q nonsense. They work on some people. That's why we're big on reality here. Okay, proving what we say and showing the documents. And that's why, for the first time ever, here exclusively on Red Voice Media, my goodness, we are going to show you the footage. That's right. We are going to show you the footage of Mr. Chansley, okay, stopping the muffin theft. Okay, this is the big insurrectionist. Hey, these people, when we play the Tuckins clip, what he did was do a good job of showing all these people grandstanding and talking about this along the lines of 9/11. You think on 9/11, people in the World Trade Center at any point were stopping somebody from a muffin theft? Especially the arch terrorist and criminal. So here it is. You be the judge. I'm warning, this is some pretty high-level graphic footage of Chansley stopping the theft of a muffin. I know it's pretty hard to watch, folks. Now look, this guy over here in the hat, he sees, there's a little kitchen activity over here. Oh, a little place to eat something. You see this? Now watch this. He goes in for the muffin. He goes to take the muffin. Chansley darts in the door. If you blink, you miss it. And he stops that muffin. Let's watch in slow-mo. He says, "Hey, buddy, not today. Not on my watch. We're taking over America. No need to have the blood of muffins on our hands." This is the craziness. So before we get to the Tucker clip and that part, I also want to post, I want to show you this. This is Chansley leaving the Capitol and telling everybody else to leave. Remember, he was allowed to go home. He was doing interviews. I remember he went on Alex Jones, amongst other things, and it was shortly after the Alex Jones interview, I think he was picked up. That's what you get for saving a good muffin and telling people to go home. The guy, what do you get, like 31 months in prison for painting his face up? This guy's a veteran, too. He's in the Navy. At one point, he served his country. He took orders. So he falls for some underground military coup d'etat that's not real. That's a message board madness. Ends up in face paint with a flagpole on a tour stopping muffin theft.
100% of everybody to go home. That's where I'm headed, buddy. I'm headed to be in a place that's warm. I'm going back to...
So there he is, telling everybody to go home. Very dangerous, this guy. Everybody seems very racist and dangerous. Just that the Trump Rambo flag, I saw a lot of that. I think I saw a lot of the Trump no more bullshit. You can obviously see all the Nazi flags, and don't worry, we're going to be talking Nazis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and a whole lot more in this broadcast. This could be a good one. You're also going to want to come to the uncensored portion of the broadcast because there are certain things we just can't play here on YouTube, period. In fact, yesterday, I just want to point this out. I got an immediate copyright strike where they didn't just, usually with the copyright thing, they just try to monetize your stuff, even if you're not monetized like me, and it says it doesn't affect you at all. They blocked my video in every country. And it was the Oscars Association, which basically the Screen Actors Guild, for me playing all those actors, right, standing up and applauding Roman Polanski, admitted pedophile. Someone who was very elated in those videos to talk about young girls and how he liked them and how they liked him. Photography sessions. girls that weren't even 14, 12-year-old girls, you know. And then you point out that, you know, maybe these people in Hollywood ain't the best. I like a Scorsese picture too. I do. I'm not going to just ignore that. Sorry. Not going to happen. But hey, that's just me. That's just me. So I want to cue up the Tuckins. And now we're going to find out that the Muffin Man here, he got his own little personal tour. That's what he did. He got a tour. Okay? So this is the Chancellery section of this. And again, I think Tucker did a pretty good job. So here we go. Make sure that's off. Thumbs it up, subscribe, share. And by the way, Rockfin Rumble, that's where you can actually see the Hollyweird stuff. You can still see that. And remember, we do the whole broadcast for free over at Podbean. The audio version's available every single day and live. And by the way, I've had some people request maybe at the end of the show, take some questions and comments. We do want to work on that, but we got to bring more live people over to Podbean to do that. This is what I'm offering. At Jason Bermas is my Twitter. If you hit me up at Twitter over this first hour or so, and then you're in the premium broadcast at the end, hashtag reality rants, and then ask me a question or a comment. Maybe I'll read some of those at the end of the broadcast if it happens. But I also want you to tag at Red Voice News as well. So you got to tag myself, okay, at Red Voice News, and hashtag reality rants. Then you can give your question or comment, and we'll talk about it from there. So here's the Tuck-In segment. This is just the Chancellery segment on the January 6th stuff. We're going to see more. You know, he showed Roy Epps, who had perjured himself, who still never got arrested, who somehow is being championed by these people. I mean, there's a lot of sickos here. I mean, again, to just compare this, first of all, to call it an insurrection, we all know that's Johnny nonsense. It's not real. Okay? So, the Tuckins.
That is conclusive, and that fact should prevent them from ever being taken seriously again. We're going to begin tonight with footage that shows you what was actually happening inside the Capitol. The footage does not show an insurrection or a riot in progress. Instead, it shows police escorting protesters through the building, including the now infamous QAnon Shaman. Watch. These are the pictures you've seen of January 6th. They're familiar because they've been playing on a loop on every media outlet in America for the last 2 years. There's a reason for that. But it turns out there's quite a bit of video you haven't seen. And that video tells a very different story about what happened on January 6th. More than 40,000 hours of surveillance footage from in and around the Capitol have been withheld from the public. And once you see the video, you'll understand why. Taken as a whole, the video record does not support the claim that January 6th was an insurrection. In fact, it demolishes that claim. And that's exactly why the Democratic Party and its allies in the media prevented you from seeing it. By controlling the images you were allowed to view from January 6th, they controlled how the public understood that day. They could lie about what happened, and you would never know the difference. Those lies had a purpose. They created a pretext for a federal crackdown on opponents of the Uniparty in Washington.
Our office wanted to ensure that there was shock and awe, that we could charge as many people as possible.
The first thing you notice from viewing the full video record of January 6th is just how many people entered the Capitol building that day. Hundreds and hundreds of people, possibly thousands, over the course of about 2 hours. The crowd was enormous. A small percentage of them were hooligans. They committed vandalism. You've seen their pictures again and again. But the overwhelming majority weren't. They were peaceful, they were orderly and meek. These were not insurrectionists, they were sightseers. Footage from inside the Capitol overturns the story you've heard about January 6th. Protesters queue up in neat little lines. They give each other tours outside the Speaker's office. They take cheerful selfies and they smile. They're not destroying the Capitol. They obviously revere the Capitol. They're there because they believe the election was stolen from them. They believe in the system. Here's the man you've heard referred to as the QAnon Shaman outside the Senate chamber. These are not rioters. These are people who wandered over from a political rally.
We will not let them silence your voices.
After the rally, they walked down Pennsylvania Avenue, where organizers had secured a federal permit to hold a legal rally on the grounds of the Capitol.
So let's just stop it there for a second. And that's like the biggest misnomer out there, that somehow, oh, we stormed the Capitol. First of all, they should have had way more security there. They didn't have enough security at the actual ellipse, period. At least not visually. And let's not forget, we still haven't heard anything about Mr. what? January 5th pipe bomber man. So don't have him. They've got plenty of other footage of that as well. The Tuckins is talking about 40,000 instead of 14,000 hours. And I think I'm going to have to play the Massey clip too, where Massey says, I really hope that we can get all of this out to the public so that they can sleuth it out. And I would have to agree there.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Once at the Capitol building, things began to get chaotic. Capitol police officers fired tear gas into the crowd. A few at the front of the herd broke windows. Someone opened the doors, and many hundreds of others just walked in.
They're going to make that the story.
Of course, they did make it the story. And at the center of it, the single most famous person arrested that day was a Navy veteran from Arizona called Jacob Chansley, often referred to as the QAnon Shaman.
The so-called QAnon Shaman. QAnon Shaman.
Someone named Q Shaman.
Jacob Chansley became the face of January 6th, a dangerous conspiracy theorist dressed in outlandish costume who led the violent insurrection to overthrow American democracy. For these crimes, Chansley was sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison, far more time than many violent criminals now receive. What did Jacob Chansley do to receive this punishment? To this day, there is dispute over how Chansley got into the Capitol building. But according to our review of the internal surveillance video, it is very clear what happened once he got inside. Virtually every moment of his time inside the Capitol was caught on tape. The tapes show that Capitol Police never stopped Jacob Chansley. They helped him. They acted as his tour guides. Here's video of Chansley in the Senate chamber. Capitol Police officers take him to multiple entrances and even try to open locked doors for him. We counted at least 9 officers who were within touching distance of unarmed Jacob Chansley. Not one of them even tried to slow him down.
Let's stop it right there. That shows you how ludicrous this whole thing is right there. Okay, right there.
Chansley understood that Capitol Police were his allies. Video shows him giving thanks for them in a prayer on the floor of the Senate. Watch.
Thank you, Heavenly Father, for giving the inspiration needed to these police officers to allow us in this building.
Contrast the reality of what Jacob Chansley did in the Capitol building on January 6th, the indisputable facts recorded on video, some of which has never before been seen, with the depiction of Jacob Chansley that you've seen in the media for more than 2 years. He's a terrorist, they said. He should be killed.
Shoot him. Shoot him. Like, if you burst into the United States, if he was dressed like bin Laden, would you have shot him?
And that's just ignorant right there, too. First of all, I don't care what somebody's dressed like, especially in a situation like that, if they're unarmed, sir. If they're not causing any destruction at all. If they're stopping violent muffin thieves. I mean, I take a look. This is the clown townery we are in. This is the cartoon in which we live.
Shoot him! Shoot him! It makes you wonder, who are the violent extremists here? Not Jacob Chansley, and the video proves that. But you would never have known from the media coverage.
The people sitting in the chairs need to be sitting in a jail cell.
Chansley is in a jail cell. He's been there for months. If he was in fact committing such a grave crime, why didn't the officers who were standing right next to him place him under arrest? Until now, no one could even prove that even happened. But it did.
So there you go. That's just a small part of that. I mean, he dedicated probably 3/4 of the show to it. I know that it was run as a cover story over at the New York Post. That's minutia on what we've gone through. Minutia. So maybe we play the Massey segment over on the premium end, redvoicemedia.com/Jason, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. That's $10 a month or $100 for the year. Lock it in, support the broadcast. We do really appreciate it. I have so many other stories to go to that I think we just got to move on, okay, from January 6th. I thought it was important. I wanted to have a little fun this morning, right? Get everybody a little upbeat. It's really kind of a dark story, though. I mean, the Muffin Man is rotting in a federal penitentiary, made to be a demon. When I'm going to go over plenty of real demons, humans that walk the earth and do actual abhorrent evil shit, not paint their face and believe in fairy tales and go, yeah! No, these are movers, shakers, doers, and bad folks. Bad folks, okay? So let's start here. It's a weird story. And the headline isn't why we're reading the story. A Twitter engineer says there are at least 2 bodyguards accompanying Elon Musk around Twitter headquarters, even to the restroom. Well, I'll bet there are. You know, listen, the Musker nuts is a facade. We've talked about it. He's military-industrial complex all the way. And what's really interesting about this story is when you read it, and we're going to read the whole thing so nobody takes it out of context, can we get 100 thumbs up, is you remember that really weird incident where Elon was saying somebody was stalking one of his children and he used Twitter to put that out? Well, according to this article, and I don't know whether it's real or not, it's from yesterday, I don't know how valid it is, but apparently the police who investigated the incident say that the person who was harassing supposedly Elon's kid was one of his bodyguards. Huh. So let's read that. Let's go to it right now. Elon Musk is accompanied around Twitter's headquarters by at least 2 bodyguards who even follow him to the restroom, an engineer at the social media company told the BBC. The engineer, who spoke to the BBC on the condition of anonymity to protect their employment, said the bodyguards were bulky and tall and like they're from a Hollywood movie. By the way, I don't have any bodyguards. Again, these people have highly trained, highly armed help. It's not uncommon for high-flying executives and CEOs to be accompanied by bodyguards, or for companies to spend a considerable amount of money providing them with security details. The engineer said he thought that Musk's use of bodyguards inside Twitter's HQ in San Francisco suggested a lack of trust in the company's employees, per the BBC report published Sunday. It's not just them, okay? Yeah, you talk about this. Musk's father, Errol, said in January that he feared for his son's safety, even though he was protected by 100 security guards. Oh, he's got 100 security guards. Okay, so now check this out. Musk's security detail came into the spotlight in December after Musk said a crazy stalker jumped on a car carrying his son in Los Angeles. The South Pasadena Police Department later said it believed the suspect in the case to be a member of Elon Musk's security team. Huh. Interesting. See that? It's odd. And there's the tweet from Musk. So, and then he, posted the car. It was a big incident. It's a big incident. So, definitely thought I'd quickly do that one right there. Let's talk military-industrial complex. Let's talk worldwide war. Let's get into some glum subjects. Okay? Aleppo Airport is reportedly under attack by Israel. This is the lifeline for victims of the earthquake. Israel is trying to provoke Syria to escalate conflict in lockstep with the U.S. triggering ISIS attacks on civilians. U.S.-Israeli terrorist settler states. Vanessa Beeley over on Twitter. Now, this is that Anglo-American, Saudi Arabian, Israeli alliance in the U.S. And we don't talk enough about how we're still in Syria, how Five Eyes is still a very real alliance, and really how it's beyond the nation state. Okay, we certainly barely talked about the earthquakes in Turkey, barely talked about the earthquakes in Syria, and I mean, I don't know if we even discussed anybody in the mainstream was like, boy, we really got to help all those poor Syrian people. That should show you how much these disingenuous politicians and actors and media figures really care about human beings. No, I'm going to say it up, down, and all around. I want no war. I'll start with less war and conflict, but no war would be nice in 2023. Okay? I don't want death and destruction. I want human beings to prosper and love one another. Kooky, I know. People say, you sound like a hippie, Jason. It's not hippie talk. It's the reality of understanding, look, not everybody's going to be great. There are going to be conflicts of a physical nature. Militaries do exist. I'm not in la la land. I'm not somebody who says, non-aggression principle, man. Anarchy rules globally. No. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about we don't need to escalate death machines. Okay? And we don't need all these little toys that we utilized in beta testing in the Middle East and continue to do so. And we're going to talk about some DOD drone stuff coming up. Really lovely stuff. Good stuff. Defense Department stuff. Biometrics. All the things that we did there over here and in westernized nations now. With a little bit less of the jackboot as we automate you out. But don't worry. We'll continue to kill people overseas with death showers. So, it's a big reason we're covering this. Now, this is out in New York. I believe it was yesterday, maybe the day before. Jewish New Yorkers rally at Schumer's home to end U.S. military funding to Israel. You will never hear about this in the mainstream. This is in the middle of New York City. I don't want military funding to Israel. I don't want it to any of these other nations. All right? We can be friendly with nations. We can have alliances with nations. Great. Treaties, I get it. Let's not fund other nations' militaries. Sorry. I don't want to be doing the Ukraine thing either. But these are Putin talking points. All right? So again, I'm going to play some of these videos at the bottom here. This is for hundreds
Palestine
of people.
should be free, but Palestine should be free, period. Palestine should be free, period.
So, I don't want to see Israel destroyed. I don't want to see Palestine destroyed. I want to see, again, a way to have peace. But I certainly don't want checkpoints where you have automated weapons. Again, automated weapons just ready to roll out death. And I certainly don't want an out-of-control IDF. Okay? I don't want a culture of death and destruction.
Ready to end U.S. military aid! Who is ready to fight for the freedom of Palestinians?
So again, this is in New York City, outside of Schumer's office, I believe, or it's actually his home. So yeah, won't hear about that. This is outside, and I think this is last night. Yeah, this is the 6th too. Outside of Neri B'Kroth, the former mayor of Jerusalem. Okay, so this is global. Okay, they don't want war there either. They want these conflicts to end. And these are people, these are Israelis inside Israel. They don't like their government. So, once again, thought that was going to be important. You also have State Department saying Israelis finance ministers call to wipe out Palestinian village repugnant. Yes. Good. Good. These comments were irresponsible. They were repugnant. They were disgusting. And just as we condemn Palestinian incitement to violence, we condemn these provocative remarks that are that also amount to incitement to violence. Let's give a little piece of chance, eh? Can we do that? I don't know. Not with Milley over in Syria. Now listen, Milley is a joke. Milley takes orders. He doesn't run the military. He's the quintessential fail upwards, yes man bureaucrat. Okay? That's what he is. He is front man supreme. In fact, if I had to guess, if I had to put my thinking hat on, and I had to guess who's still really running, and in many ways has been running the vast amount of actual military operations in the Middle East. Now, that doesn't mean that this person is the end-all, be-all. I'm talking about he's the guy that kind of directs everybody, that makes some phone calls, puts things into place, does discuss it with other predator-class globalists. It would be David Petraeus. Remember David? Well, we don't hear about Petraeus a lot these days. David Petraeus, that's a guy. That's one of those social climbers. That's Bilderberg style, baby. He's not Milley. He's not incompetent. He's in the background. That's how they do things. Mark my words. Mark my words. So, I have a big Assange / John Kiriakou. I played a little bit of this speech. I don't think I'm going to do that today. I do want to remind, I have it, but I don't know that we're going to get to it. I kind of want to get to Arnold Exposed. So I got some DARPA stuff I want to play. I'll probably play that on the second half of the broadcast. But I want to remind people that the CIA openly discussed with Israeli front groups, by the way, assassinating, kidnapping Julian Assange while Pompeo was around. And now Pompeo's what? It looks like he's running for president. He's over at CPAC talking Johnny nonsense. Yeah, let's put the ex-director of the CIA, the we lied, we cheated, we stole guy in. That guy. The guy who's throwing Trump under the bus for the economy. And look, a lot of people need to be thrown under the bus for that economy. Because what happened was, at the very end of it, they acted like it was big and successful. They threw it all away with the COVID-19 84 nightmare of just printing everything. You see, in a real capitalist system, when things were happening that way, everything would have imploded. And they started to several times. What happened? Supply chains really were being cut and the stock market was crashing. And they just stopped the stock market. That should show you how corrupt everything is. And all of a sudden, there was all this money everywhere. This inflated bubble. Everybody's just giving free money. And what happened? You had a huge pump and dump in the crypto market. And you had a consolidation of actual resources. Well, you put small businesses out. And you made everybody's money less valuable. And you ran the inflation train. And you don't think that Pompeo was part of that? Though we lied, we cheated, we stole, and we tried to kill Assange guy. Just like you don't think Barr is a part of that? Bill Barr? He's a piece of CIA trash. Okay? Sorry. Sorry if that offends people. Listen, I'm sure there are some good people in the lower echelons of the Central Intelligence Agency. And I'm also sure that some people get in there with maybe the best of intentions. But by God, what a demonic organization. Period. All right, we're going to continue on. We don't even have 100 thumbs up over on YouTube. Guys, let's go. Can we get 150? Same thing with Rumble. We need shares. We need people to find out about the show. Cut up the show. Put up clips on every social media platform. All right? Over on Twitter, at Jason Bermas. Get involved in the threads. Retweet that stuff out. Pump it up. All right. So we're talking about different types of technologies by the Defense Department, especially utilized in drone warfare. Well, the Reaper UAV is getting its own drone swarm. Oh, yay. Woohoo! Now, if you watch this broadcast for a while now, you know that we've talked about drone swarms with insect-like autonomy and intelligence working in groups and navigating through, and then essentially having some type of either device that is going to survey the area or annihilate it attached. Sounds great. Fantastic. So it looks like the Air Force special operators are rigging the venerable unscrewed aircraft with an ISR swarm that may just take one person to control. And remember, we've talked about these non-invasive human brain interfaces, wearables, where you've got a person that's literally controlling a swarm of drones with his mind. Or her mind. You sexist bastard, Jason. DARPA to launch high-speed, no-runway aircraft program. Will it be a helicopter, a seaplane, or a whole new thing? First of all, if you don't think something like this already exists, you're a little slow. Of course something like this exists. And if you don't think they have a hybrid drone that lives, we already know that these things exist on a lower level. Maybe that aren't visually going at supersonic or hypersonic speeds. Okay? But again, if you don't think they have different propulsion systems and it's not alien, all right, go back and watch that Peter Thiel. It's I guess it's most of it's on the premium section, but in a week or so when it goes free, because just like today, just like yesterday, more goes free every day, guys. Every 2 weeks they go free. Or just watch that whole Peter Thiel Oxford thing. He talks about how basically the technology spigot has been cut off. They're not curing diseases. They're not making great inventions. No, they are underground. They've incentivized it through the military. Okay? And they're withholding it from the public because it would empower us. So, this is just them, in my opinion, getting ready to roll out a few more toys, a few new toys. I found this interesting. I hadn't seen this when this was in. I think it was probably out there 5 days ago. So this is number 9 in particular. This is Twitter Files number 17, the Global Engagement Center. Okay, so you look at this. On June 8th, 2021, an analyst at the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab wrote to Twitter, "Hi, guys." Attached, you will find around 40,000 Twitter accounts that our researchers suspect are engaging in inauthentic behavior and Hindu nationalism more broadly. Now, you go through this, and what I found was really interesting is look who's part of the GEC Integrity Partnership. DARPA, the CIA, DARPA, the CIA, Homeland Security, the NSA, DARPA. We talk about DARPA a lot here. The FBI is here, the Cyber Commission. Yeah, there's DARPA. DARPA is part of the Global Engagement Center. Of course they are. We focus on it because it's a big deal. It matters. All right, let's keep on down the line. Keep on down the line. Actually, we got 20 minutes left, so maybe we're gonna do this now. Man, that's tough because I've got a lot of Arnold stuff I want to do today too, because Arnold's talking Nazis, and that's what I've promised. So that is what we're gonna do now. ArnoldExposed.com. It's still up there. All right. There's a portion of a documentary film. 9/11, martial law, 2005, rise of the police state, Alex Jones. This is before I worked with him, but this is when the production value started to go up. Okay? And Arnold put this video out. We're going to play this message. Well, you know what? That's probably what we're going to go to, right? That's probably where we got to go from here. take a look. I mean, Arnold was a chauvinist. These are actors. They put on stories. So ArnoldExposed.com, and this is why, Jones, you say what you want. He's not perfect. He's a pioneer. I still wear that Obey Arnold shirt. Okay? And this is a big deal. And Arnold is grandstanding now and talking about the rise in hate crime and anti-Semitism. That's all bullshit. There is no rise in that. All right? Does it exist? Yeah. Some people are hateful. Is it a real threat? No, it's over-dramatized and generalized because it's the new narrative to go after people's speech and go into thought crimes and pre-crimes. And the Nazi ties to Arnold, before we even go down into this, I want to show people this. This is 2007 with his buddy Bloomberg. His billionaire buddy, Bloomberg. Great guy. We all love Michael Bloomberg, too. They always surround themselves with great people. So, 2007, this is how concerned he is. You notice the belt buckle here? Is that normal? To wear the Nazi death's head? The Nazi death's head as your belt buckle with your billionaire buddy? And that's the thing, the Nazi ideal set, what bothers me is he starts going into the camps, and he's only talking about the Jewish people they killed. Yeah, they killed plenty of those people. Killed a lot of gypsies, too. Killed a lot of dissidents. Killed a lot of the feeble-minded. Eugenics was a movement. We talk about the feeble-minded and eugenics in the United States. It was a movement to get rid of your enemies. To get rid of those you thought you were superior to. Here he is, Mr. Belt Buckle with the Mr. Billionaire. Okay? Yeah. I admire Adolf Hitler's speaking abilities, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, it's having the discussion with George Butler 3 decades ago. I think it's in Pumping Iron. That's among many, many things. All right? So, Arnold Exposed here. I want to go down the line a little bit. Just some of the things. And then I've got Alex Jones's martial law that will probably do a bit of a watch along in the Nazi section. Because I know I also had requests about Smedley Butler and his story. Maybe we'll play that section, the Nazi section, the Arnold section, over on the paid portion of the broadcast. Okay, but you take a look at this, okay, and then we're going to play Arnold's little message together. I mean, multiple stories about Arnold. Okay, female crew. Let's just in one case, on the set of Terminator 2, he approached a female crew member on the Blue, put his hands into her blouse and pulled her breasts out of her bra. An observer said, "I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This woman's nipples were exposed, and here's Arnold, a few of his clones laughing." The woman in question broke into tears and fled into a nearby trailer. See Arnold the Barbarian, an article by Premier Magazine in March 2001 for more revelations, should you be able to stomach it. Remember that? You hear anything about the Me Too? Go watch the Carnival. I mean, listen, Jones did a bang-up job on this site. In November of 2000, he pulled British TV commentator Anna Richardson onto his lap. Onto his lap after an interview, grabbed her breasts and squeezed her nipple, all without any kind of permission. She stood up and told him, "You're making me nervous." But Arnold told her to relax and pulled her back onto his knee. Finally, he let her up, patting her behind as she went off. Richardson has since filed a libel action. I mean, so, this is the guy. Drugs and pornography. I care less about the marijuana. Just the pornography stuff, let's just say you got to look into that yourself. Racism and Nazi links. Kurt Waldheim, okay? His member was a member of the Nazi Party. That's the other thing. I didn't watch the whole message. Only watched about half of it. So I'm not sure. I've seen Arnold invoke the fact that his father was a Nazi. and saying that, we have to do better. Again, this is an actor. This is a social climber. This is somebody who got into politics and became the governor. All right? So, ArnoldExposed.com still got some pretty good links there. It's still around after all these years. Let's hear Arnold's message to everybody about hate and anti-Semitism.
Hello, everybody. I want to talk to you today about the rising hate and anti-Semitism we've seen all over the world. A few months ago, I toured Auschwitz, the Nazi concentration camp, where 1.1 million men, women, and children lost their lives. Almost all of them were ruthlessly murdered simply because they were Jewish.
Again, he had the Nazi belt buckle next to a billionaire on the cover of Time magazine in 2007.
When you walk through a place like Auschwitz, you feel a tremendous weight. There are reminders everywhere of the horrors that happened there. The suitcases never claimed by the prisoners, who were told to remember exactly where they left their belongings so they could retrieve them after they were finished with their showers. The shoes and the gold teeth and the hair that were taken from the murdered to be reused by the murderers to fund their
again, they got this shot all nice. Look at all this regalia he's got in the room. You got to wonder what he's got in his other rooms. The ones he's not shooting things in. You don't think he has things there? If he's got that kind of a belt buckle that he's proudly wearing? Give me a break. This guy's a phony. He's a fraud.
Evil. The log books with thousands of names crossed out as if a cruel accountant only measured death. The gas chambers with scratches on the walls from the fingernails of people who tried to hold on to life.
I mean, the way they draw, think of the piano music, the shots, the script, the focus. I mean, the focus on, disturbing, disgusting death. But not focusing on what? The ideal set, those in power that funded it, the big pharmaceutical and chemical companies that came out of it, the intelligence networks that were born out of it, the executive within the executive, the actual military-industrial complex that was built on the back of World War II.
The crematorium, where the Nazis tried to erase all of their atrocities. Let me tell you something. The weight on your back hits you at the very beginning heavier than any squat I've ever done. And it never goes away. It's the feeling of history, of millions of voices that were silenced decades ago, begging you, not to just look at their shoes, but to spend a few hours in them.
This man is so just, oh boy, oh boy. I'll tell you what, you'll at least want to go listen on the flip side of this. But redvoicemedia.com/Jason, sign up. You sign up for $1 for the first 10 days right now. Or 7 days, I'm sorry. Sign up for $1. It's $10 a month, $100 again. But you can go just watch the entire 9/11 martial law film, which is excellent, which is one of Alex Jones's best works, by the way. It's very well done. It's good. It's old school, 2005. So I think it's the same year, as Loose Change 2nd edition that came out. So let's continue with Arnold and the farce here. If you actually think he believes this, or he's shook up, and he's now thinking about Dachau and the camps, give me a break.
To imagine you were there. Because once you imagined that you arrived on that train, and you were sorted into those lines, and you smelled the smoke that didn't smell like any wood you've ever burned before, and you never saw your families coming out of those showers, and then you worked your butt off while getting almost nothing to eat, until you looked more like a ghost than a person. And then when you couldn't work anymore, and they considered you useless, they sent you to the showers too. Once you've spent the time to really think about all of those things, then your imagination has no choice but to start the real work. How do we stop this from ever happening again?
Doing a bad job. You know what Arnold's not going to tell you about is what? The Office of Hygiene. Oh, there's an unclean segment of the population that needs to be regulated by the state. How do we stop things like that, Arnold?
You know, after a trip to Auschwitz, you will never question why. Never again is the rallying cry of all of the people who fight to prevent another Holocaust. You will never question that. But today, I don't really want to talk to those people. I don't want to preach to the choir here. Today, I want to talk to the people out there who might have already stumbled into the wrong direction, into the wrong path.
Ooh, the wrong direction and the wrong path. I mean, I'm gonna say it again. I think it's pretty important to point out. This guy right here, with the death's head Nazi, like that's not. He knows what he's wearing. Ask him about Gustav, old Pappy. Okay? It's just so disingenuous. So disingenuous.
I want to talk to you if you've heard some conspiracies about Jewish people or people of any race or gender orientation and thought, that makes sense to me. I want to talk to you if you found yourself thinking about anyone is inferior and out to get you because of their religion or the color of the skin or their gender. I don't know the road that has brought you here, but I've seen enough people throw away their futures for hateful beliefs. So I want to speak to you before you find your regrets on the end of that path. I've talked a lot about my father and the broken man that I was surrounded by when I grew up in Austria after the Second World War.
Yeah. Again, you act like now you weren't saying things like you admired the way Hitler spoke. You act now like you weren't wearing that belt buckle. You act now like you're just so ashamed of the sins of your father, the Nazi.
You know, they drank to numb their pain. Their bodies were riddled with injuries and shrapnels from the evil war, and their hearts and their minds were equally riddled with guilt. But besides the guilt and the injuries, they felt like losers, not only because they lost the war, but also because they fell for a horrible loser ideology. They were lied to and misled into a path that ended in misery.
I'll say right now, that is actually true. But at the same time, we're losers. Because whether we know it or not, all right, we have allowed that type of ideology to take hold behind the scenes on a global scale. And just now, the vast majority of the population, after the last several years, okay, and the COVID-1984 nightmare, those that were not awake to that there is a bigger plan, a bigger plot that has been enabled, a loser ideology that's being followed, they've woken up to that. All right? So look, it's beyond the nation state. It's grown. All right? But they still want to fit you into political parties and right and left. And this is really making it so that you're not supposed to challenge this new ideology of collectivism, right? Of transhumanism, of subservience, of track, trace, database, digital currencies, of biomedical tyranny.
Some of them joined the Nazis because they were filled with hate. Some of them joined because they thought they deserved more in their lives. And they bought into that idea that the only way to make their lives better was to make other lives worse. Some of them joined because they were frustrated with the government, and some of them just joined because everyone else was doing it. In the end, it didn't really matter why they joined. They were all broken in the same way. That's the bottom line here. I mean, if you find yourself at the crossroads, wondering if that path of hate might make sense to you for one reason or the other, or even wrapping yourself in the flag of hate, I want you to know where that path ends.
You know, some of them were just in the military, and more and more, you know, you have to understand that perspective. Many of the people in World War II on the German side weren't hardened Nazis. You know, that's maybe that's not a popular opinion, but like when I watch something, I guess not watch, but play something like Call of Duty World War II, I'm glad that they point that out throughout the story. In fact, one of the main characters, Sussman, is a German Jew. Okay, so his family's actually from Germany, has family there, and he's sympathetic to the German soldiers. You know, basically saying, hey, they're soldiers just like us. The ideal set, horrible. But when you look back on that ideal set, so much of it, what they were actually doing was hidden from the public via propaganda. Same thing, history repeating itself.
I want you to see it very clearly in front of you in your mind. Because throughout history, hate has always been the easy path. The path of least resistance. I get it. And I mean, it's easier to find a scapegoat for a problem than to try to make things better ourselves, right? But let me be clear. You will not find success on the end of that road. You will not find fulfillment or happiness. Because hate burns fast in pride.
I don't know how hate is an easy path. To me, hate's a really dark path. I try to bring as much love into my life as possible. I hope you guys do too. I get bummed out when I'm not getting along with people, or I'm not happy on a regular basis, or I'm not around people that want to do stuff and, you know, smile and find a way around the darkness, because we're surrounded by darkness. I hate having to report on the fact that airports are being bombed, okay, and Syrians are being killed. I hate that. All right. I hate the hate and lies that have been injected into the public arena of the last several years in a way most of us can't imagine, but it happened. So here's the deal. If you like the broadcast, we're a few minutes away from going full premium. RedVoiceMedia.com, RedVoiceMedia.com/uncensored, RedVoiceMedia.com/Jason. Go sign up. $1 first week, $10 a month, or lock it in. Really support the broadcast. Get that $100 one, and you get 12 months. That means 2 months free. Plenty of new shows coming in, which is awesome. In fact, what is today? Tuesday. I believe there is an afternoon show. RVM Network continues to grow. I want to thank everybody who is coming over. Couldn't do it without you guys. But maybe, just maybe, you want to listen. So you can come over to the Info Warrior channel on Podbean, where we're streaming the entire audio live, and do it that way. I want to remind everybody, I'm a documentary filmmaker. Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture are free right here, right now, everywhere. Sorry, a little indigestion. You know, I'm going to get a little water. I don't know how I do it sometimes, 2 hours with none. Sometimes I sneak it in, guys. Thumbs up, subscribe, and share on the way out. But I want people to remember, Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't care about this stuff. Okay? Arnold Schwarzenegger is a proven sociopath through all of his behavior. ArnoldExposed.com. And we're going to play a bunch of 9/11 martial law, okay? Rise of the Police State. Go watch that film. That's a 2.5-hour film, by the way. We're going to watch the Nazi section, all right? And big time on the Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff. I think we might even finish some of the Schwarzenegger stuff up as well. But let's leave it one at a time, and I'll cue to my producer to go over to the premium section of the broadcast. Rockfin, we will see you later.